Senator from Rhode Island.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask unanimous consent that the pending quorum call be lifted?
We're not in a quorum call, but...
We're not in a quorum call. How amazing. Thank you.
Oh, we are. It's vitiated.
Okay, there we go. I'm on the floor today, I guess just a few moments ahead of the ranking member on our Senate Foreign Relations Committee, my friend Ben Cardin, who is on his way, but he's authorized me to proceed with a few remarks on the topic that he and I and perhaps others would like to address, which is tomorrow's signing in New York of the Paris Climate Agreement. Over 160 nations around the world are going to be participating and signing that agreement that will move many of them immediately into their program of compliance and signify for others a statement of intention to join. But it's, I think, the largest international agreement in terms of the number of countries involved ever. It's certainly the biggest one that I can think of. So it's very significant in that respect. One other thing about Paris, I think, was also very significant, and that is what took place in America's corporate sector in support of a strong Paris agreement. The president and groups like Ceres, with particular leadership from companies like Unilever, got together and created a really remarkable American corporate coalition, more than 150 companies, including ones like Bank of America and Goldman Sachs, Ford and GM, Nike and VF Industries, General Mills, Cargill, Apple, Google, really a terrific coalition, kind of the who's who of corporate America. And they got together to urge the countries of the world to be bold in Paris, to have it be a strong agreement, and to show their support for an international program to address climate change, which I think is a really terrific thing. The distinguished senator, junior senator from Louisiana is presiding, and I can't think off the top of my head what Louisiana-based companies are part of that coalition, but certainly companies that are based in virtually every state that we represent here in the Senate, major companies. Walmart, for instance, out of Arkansas, Coca-Cola out of Georgia, VF Industries out of North Carolina, some of our biggest electric utilities, the bulk of the property casualty insurance and reinsurance industry. Very, very significant that America's corporate community came so strongly together. And I hope very much that that's a message that not only resonated in Paris, but that will resonate here in Congress as well. Because I would bet you that every single one of us have a significant home state corporation that has signed that pledge. And some of us will have many significant home state corporations that will have signed that pledge. So when you've gotten to the point where the leadership of America's corporate community has signed on to the fact that something needs to be done here and that America ought to lead, that's our role in the world, that will begin more and more to have an effect in this body to counter some of the nonsense and mischief that a very small slice in the fossil fuel industry has been propagating at the expense of the broader American corporate community, which by and large has been pretty outstanding on this. Let me also mention one other thing that has happened just this afternoon, which I'm very, very encouraged by, and that is an amendment that has been filed by 10 senators, bipartisan, 5 and 5. It's the Graham-Whitehouse amendment. The co-sponsors on the Republican side are Senators Graham, Kirk, Ayotte, Collins, and Portman. On the Democratic side, there are Whitehouse, Merkley, Schatz, Markey, and Brown. And the amendment reads, climate change is real and human activity contributes to climate change. Climate change is already affecting the American people and poses an increasing risk to our health, security, economy, and infrastructure. Over 180 nations, including China, India, and Brazil, have made commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change, creating opportunities for American workers and innovative private industry to benefit from global clean energy markets. And therefore, it is the sense of the Senate that the United States should be a world leader in addressing climate change, that Congress is best positioned to address policies that leave a prosperous economy and healthy environment for future generations, that Congress has a responsibility to take actions that reduce emissions and combat climate change, and finally, that Congress should support research and development to bolster clean energy technology. In that latter regard, let me note that the Mission Innovation Initiative that has come out of Secretary Moniz's Department of Energy and out of a significant group of really major investors around the world, the deal basically is the countries involved will try to double our clean energy R&D, and in return, these major investors from around the world, led by Bill Gates, will set up a significant fund that will take the emerging technologies that early R&D can discover and bring them through the various early investment stages of what investors and startup folks call the valleys of death on the way to becoming a sustainable company, so that those technologies can be brought forward on an accelerated basis. So when you look at Paris, you not only see this enormous array of nations coming together in a common cause, you see right behind it virtually the entirety of the leadership of America's corporate sector coming right in with it and saying, this is what we want, this is what we encourage, we want it to be strong. You have the biggest investors in the world, most of them coming together and saying, and we're going to have your back with investment into new types of clean energy funding. And then you have the governments of the world not only signing up for, not all of them, but the ones that are participating in mission innovation, signing up in addition to the treaty to this commitment to increase R&D and press innovation in this space forward. So for all of those reasons and more, tomorrow is a good news day for our country. It is a good news day for progress and innovation. It is a good news day for the enormous array of American corporate leaders who have supported and cheered on this particular occasion. And it is, I think, an occasion for pride on the part of the United States of America that the signing will be taking place here in the United States, in New York, that the president will be attending, that the Chinese leader will be attending, and that people from all around the world will be there, not only recognizing the need that we do this, but recognizing America's leadership in getting us to this place. I'll close with a personal note of appreciation for a gentleman named Todd Stern. Todd was the climate negotiator for the Department of State for many years. And some of those were rather bleak years in which the United States was not showing leadership. And Todd had to hang in there and endure that frustration and keep his candle of faith burning. until the day came when we really finally began to kick in at last. And his role was really important in getting us prepared for and through the Paris agreements. He is retiring and has served his country well. And so I will close with a word of goodwill for that particular public servant who has done right by his duty and done right by his country. And with that, I will yield the floor, and we can, with any luck, await the arrival of Senator Cardin in due course. I note the absence of quorum.